Welcome back everyone, and in today's video lesson we are going to look at harmonization by thirds. So a couple of things. First off, harmonization by thirds is one of the most popular forms of harmonization. That's really interesting, but we really want to understand why. And it has to do with how music is constructed, and music is typically considered to be, at least Western music, is considered to be in tertian form, and that's just a really fancy way of saying that it is in thirds. So as an example, if we were to take a look at a C, some kind of a C chord, how about a C9, and the notes here would be C, E, G, B, and D. And I said C9, but actually let's make this C major 9. And if you didn't understand or follow how did I come up with that formula, don't worry about it for now. But what I want to really point out is there are missing notes right here, missing values, right? So if I were to label this, we'd have like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we can see what those missing values would be, right? Here would be a D, an F, an A, and a C, okay? But the way that we build the chord is just going to be what's in green, which would be C, E, G, B, and D. And so what we can consider is that I could call this almost like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I have these multiple sets of 3, and that's where we get this idea that chords are tertian based, meaning that they're built off of sets of 3. Okay, there are 3, it's intervals of 3. So it's tertian based, it's built in thirds. And that's why, because when we're harmonizing by thirds, we're essentially creating chords. That's what we're doing. So that's why harmonization by thirds is so incredibly popular, because it's extraordinarily pleasing to the ears. It sounds great. The chords sound awesome. All right, let's get into some examples here. So if we had the key of C major, and we wanted to know, well, what would harmonization by thirds look like? Well, I would take the third degree from each note, and so that would be an E. The third degree from a D would give me F, G, A, B, C, and D. Now in this case, this is pretty simple. And the reason why it's simple is because these are linear, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So what I'm doing down here is I'm just rewriting the C major scale, starting from E and just E, F, G, A, B, C, D, just writing it linearly. If you're familiar with anything with music theory, then you might recognize this is sort of using like a modal system, right? We'd have like a C Ionian and we'd have an E Phrygian. Okay, and if that didn't make any sense, don't worry, but that's sort of what's going on. Now, what if you said, well, wait a minute, harmonization, I'm doing this thing, and the notes are out of order. So then my first step, really, step 1 is identify. You have to identify the key. You have to identify the key signature. So I'd have to look at this and I'd have to know, is this F major or is this G major or is this C major? Okay, so that's your first step. You have to do that, otherwise you're going to end up with really funky notes. You're going to end up with note choices that just wouldn't make sense. And so in this respect, if I looked at this and if I thought, let's say I made a mistake and I just happened to think that it was a different key. I was like, oh, you know what? I think this is F major or something. And I would go through this and I'd go, well, okay, well, if this is F major, then this is A, then this is C, then E, F, that would give me a G. Let's kind of skip that one. And A, B, C, D, E, F, C, D, E. Okay. And then I would come to something like this and maybe I would play a D. Okay. Or maybe I would choose a D flat. Okay, if in the key of F major, though, hopefully I would recognize that, wait a minute, B doesn't even exist in F. Hopefully that would hit me at some point. And if I chose a D flat, I'm way off base, and it's going to sound awful. And so you're going to have, this one's going to sound great, this one will sound great, this one will sound great, this one's good, this one's good, this one's good. And right here, this is just terrible. Okay. And then again, if I chose D, well, that's actually just in the key of C major then. So that's the interesting thing. And so it puts it in C major and things work out just fine. So really identifying the key is really a key point to preventing confusion and making sure that all your notes are going to harmonize correctly, not just some of them. That's really the big thing, what gets people mixed up. They go, oh, I got, this one was good, this one was good, this one was bad, this one's good. You probably have the key signature wrong. All right, so let's look at another one. So here's the key of E major. And so E major, if I wanted to harmonize it, so harmonizing by thirds, right? It's just simply taking the third degree, 1, 2, 3. So same thing here. So that gives me A, This would be B, C sharp, D sharp, C sharp would give me E, and D sharp would give me F sharp. These are, in case you haven't noticed, these are cycling around all the way back around, okay? Now, once again, we want to recognize that the interval size is not staying a constant. They're changing, right? So this E to G sharp is a major third. This is a minor third, major third, minor third, and minor third. So that we have minors here, and minors here. So and minors here as well. So the interval size is definitely changing as we go through this. So this is why you can't just go, oh, let me just slap a major third on this and be done with it, or a minor third. It won't work that way. You'll get a lot of problems out of it. Once again, let's look at an example where the notes are out of order. So my first example here is I need to recognize what is the key, right? So what is the key? And I'd have to recognize that, well, this has 4 sharps, C sharp, G sharp, F sharp, D sharp. That sounds like E major to me. Okay, we have a ton of videos on that, so if that's your area of confusion, go back and watch those. All right, so then I would just simply take the third degree from E major, and I would think, well, what is the third degree from in E major from an A? Well, that would be C sharp. So I would harmonize an A with a C sharp, and then I would think about the same thing for C sharp. What is the third degree? That's an E. B, D sharp, A, F sharp, and finally G sharp. Okay, so even if the notes are out of order, you just simply determine the key, and then from there, you can sort of rewrite it if you wanted to. And it does help to do it on paper as well, especially in the beginning, to really kind of get your ducks in a row, so to speak. In our next video, we are going to take a look at harmonization by fourths. And so we're going to continue to go through these, so seconds, thirds, fourths, fifths, and so on.